Ops and Century now for Sumail.
Wait, Hortos again! They got Sumail! They don't have Chrono afterwards, but they might not need it. Mira continuing to control, looking for another round of this. RP gonna get off the mark and collapse! Pulls them back in! What in the hell? Sumail has a Ghost Scepter now inside the fountain. I don't know if he bought that or not, but figure death out! Usually when OG is in the fountain, it's good. Not this time, as they pull him back down again! No tail dies!
Yeah, you want to give him a moonshot, you can go.
Valve and Dota 2, they recognize this, that in order for Dota 2 to progress to the next level, in order for more people to be drawn in, we need to make different positions shine. And this is what we get in TI-10, ladies and gentlemen. And in this story, we're going to talk about the position 3. It is something that every team usually overlooks. In TI-10,
LGD, they get their best strategy. Tiny is their best strategy. As we said before, they brought this Tiny to the meta. They were the team making it happen. They were the team abusing the Tiny with the Lycan. They know this better than anybody else.
We learned firsthand about the LGD Lycan Tiny very early on before we got to TI. And this strategy, when you see it for the first time, you're like, oh boy, this reminds you of some of the other broken strats that you see come up around TI. And I mean, it's nice. It's amazing that we get this in the game 5 and that somebody is manning up to LGD saying, we're giving you your best strat. Yeah. And we're going to beat you. And
this is the team that Theory crafted it. They are the inventors of Tiny and Tiny Lycan. It's scary to go up against it.
What the champions forgot to notice is what we all forgot to notice. Even the draft panel had no clue. But slowly but surely, Team Spirit had the best position 3 player of the entire tournament. He was the most innovative, the most smartest, the one that was able to adjust in the entire tournament. He was actually dictating the pace. His bans was first pick bans, first 3 bans was determined to counter the position 3. And even if you go further, the first 2 picks was either his pick or a complement of his pick or a counter to his counter. It's complicated, yes, I understand, but if you look deep enough, why do you think Team Spirit won? It's because of Collapse and his ability to play Mars, his ability to play Magnus. These are iconic heroes that set the pace of the whole tournament. Low-key, but surely it did. Now, the champions, the former champions Team OG and the runner-ups PSG LGD, both severely revered the Lycan Tiny strategy.
I'm in the Tiny boat. I am very much in the Tiny boat.
It's too much.
This is an Angel Arena hero. Yeah. This is not a Dota hero.
You have to beat it before it hits its timings. Nothing beats it. Like, at least that's our read, is like, you will not scale into this. It's not gonna happen. Especially against LGD, they understand the timings, they're gonna push it at the perfect time. They will not lose, they're not gonna waste a single second in this game. As soon as they have the upper hand, they will push it, they will end the game.
The Lycan Tiny strategy, which was a fast-paced, big burst attack, super strong, tiny late game, that Team LGD actually found out, and all the other teams in the world started copying. Now, the interesting part is that you see Valve and Dota 2, they know about these trends, and they know how to make their game shine. They need to progress it. So what they decided to do is, they overpowered the Mars and Magnus. They knew that the position 3 needs dire assistance. It needs to shine. Seb can't just carry it with his axe calls all day. The interesting part is you'll see that Collapse, he was actually low-key adjusting to the entire international. You'll see his Mars picks was either picked by his opponents or himself almost every game. Similar to Magnus, that would isolate the enemy's core, that would isolate the enemy's Tiny. It was a way to disrupt the Tiny. Now, a huge counter to the Mars was the Monkey King. So eventually the teams like Spirit, they would ban out Monkey King instantly, because Monkey King would not only stop Magnus, but it would also stop Mars. So it was a counter to the counters, which was made for Tiny. Again, it's complicated, yes, I understand, but remember, the reason why we say that the position 3 was shining over the position 1 and 2 is because every team that was fighting against Team Spirit or PSG LGD, eventually they started realizing that, hey, they're the ones who's actually determining the meta. They're the ones that's changing it. They're the ones who's revolutionizing Dota right before our eyes. And it's all coming down to the specific nitty-gritty plays of the position 3, Collapse. Now, I'm going to get into a little deeper reason why he eventually becomes not only the most important player for Team Spirit, but the MVP of the International of 2021 of TI10. Now, I could go on and tell you a whole story about it, but I'll tell you briefly. You see, a player is sometimes able to innovate, like Thompson with a diffusal blade. He's able to learn on the fly, but what Collapse does on Magnus, yes, all the picks are being banned against him, but they're also banning heroes like Rubik and Undying, which was later figured out to be a weakness of Magnus. However, they're banning those. Now, one thing that Seb and NoTail, point out, during the draft phase of the Grand Finals, they say something, they reveal their secrets. They understand the meta as well, but they couldn't counter to Team Spirit, who would become the champions. So NoTail and Seb, they revealed to everyone in the world, actually, as they're casting the draft phase, Tiny and Lycan has a huge weakness. And that weakness is the 20 minutes prior to it.
Like he mechanically cannot play quicker than the 20 minutes. It's just a Dota mechanic. He cannot buy the shard before minute 20.
I would argue there's a Shadow Blade timing that changes a little bit because he actually can defend this tower, surprise you, get solo kills. But other than that, like you still want to abuse him because with this naked Shadow Blade or with something else like that, like one slow, one spell, you're at risk of dying and getting dragged into a bad fight.
Anything before it is an opportunity for weakness. Anything after it is going to be very difficult to stop because it snowballs right afterwards. Tiny gets extremely overwhelmingly powerful so quick. He takes over the map, his Shadow Blade gets upgraded, his team can evolve with him, and it just becomes a downfall. That's what LGD created, yes. At the same time, the position 3, again, Valve did something good, but the position 3 player has to also evolve while the game is going on. Now, this is the most important part, guys. Collapse on the position 3 Magnus. Now, what he does is very, very, very beautiful. So usually he goes for a timing to meet Tiny at the 20-minute mark. Now, in order to meet the Tiny at the 20-minute mark, you have to buy a mechanism, you have to buy a shard, which gives you the ability to horn toss, and a blink. Now, these are items very similar time cost. It needs at least 20 minutes, similar to the Tiny's Echo Saber, Shadow Blade, and boots. Now, take a minute and pause and think about it. You see, Seb and NoTail are revealing the strategy that 20 minutes is the time, right? But these grand finalists, Team Spirit and Team LGD, they both understand. They know this entire thing. They know that Tiny needs that 20 minutes. Now, Collapse, the position 3, the MVP, the innovator, he's actually, think deeply enough, he not only innovated, but he actually set the tone of the entire international. So the Magnus, guess what he did? Mechanism, which requires more time and it consumes more farm. He says, let's bring the action. It's game 5, no? Let's fight. Let's go straight for the blink. Let's get the blink shard as soon as we can. And once we have the blink shard, Tiny doesn't have the opportunity. It was 15 minutes when he had those. So Tiny wasn't ready to go yet. Remember when Seb and NoTail said 20 minutes, and before 20 minutes, if you're fighting Tiny, he's gonna struggle. And that is where the game was won. Ladies and gentlemen, stop and pause, think about it. He adjusted mid-game, in the middle of the game. Collapse on Magnus, he realized this, and he went straight for his objective. His objective to isolate Tiny, extract him, like taking away a DNA segment, isolating that specific sequence and attacking it, destroying it. Similar to the way people found out the weakness to COVID-19. You see, Collapse, he was the surgeon, he was the researcher, he was the mastermind to surgically removing PSG LGD strategy. Their Tiny was isolated right away in the beginning, instantly, before he even had a chance to be activated. Before the virus could do anything, Collapse was surgically removing Tiny. And that's why he is the MVP. And this is why Valve is going to realize that Collapse, he's something deeper than that. When you guys see the true sight, you better expect to see a huge highlight of Collapse and what he did, because he truly is a shining star in the Dota scene, and it is time to give this man respect. I hope you guys enjoyed this narration. This is Crystal's Chronicle. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more content.
To the grand finals, and what a road it has been. They take down Fnatic, OG, VP, IG, Secret, and now in a best of 5 at the grand finals, the International 10, they defeat PSG LGD. arguably the favourites coming into the tournament.
Absolutely, and they don't just defeat any PSG LGD. They beat PSG LGD playing their best draft. This was all the heroes that PSG LGD wanted. Like Seb touched on, Lycan, Tiny, they invented this. This was the most dominant combo of this tournament, and they beat it. They figured out how to beat it, and they beat the best team at playing it.
I mean, it's insane as well. 4 of them, their first TI.
That's crazy.
Yatoro, Toronto, Tokyo collapse mirror the first time.